please welcome the incredible Dr. Erin.
Hi, Renee. Thank you so much for having me today. Super excited to dive deep into some consciousness.
I know we are going to go deep because you sent a little message to me this morning on Facebook highlighting what we should talk about. And I'm ready for it. I got my Kleenex here and I got my
Mhm.
water, my water.
Yeah, every day, even in the school, there's something that gets channeled in through source. And so when I was in my meditations and prayer this morning, the conversation around ending suffering was really, really clear that that's what we're supposed to talk about today.
I love it. I think it's perfect.
hmm
So
It's
tell
a big
us,
topic.
it's a great topic and maybe
hmm
we'll help people heal or start the healing journey today on this conversation. So tell us, what exactly is a doctor of divinity?
I love that question. It means I know everything.
Okay, perfect.
A doctor of divinity is really, if you think about it, it's like the vine. It's the vine that connects us. It's our oneness. And so what my mastery, what I'm, steeped in my education and in my devotion of my life is helping people understand how their subconscious is connected with universal law and with the super consciousness. And so everything that we're experiencing is here to help us basically evolve and, basically free our DNA so that we can experience our divinity and our oneness and how we're one with everything.
Right.
Yeah.
What is universal law?
I love that. It is how we manifest. So manifest is a better word than universal law because everybody knows that law of attraction. So if you like law of attraction, the secret, manifestation, a doctor of divinity is a very advanced teacher of the law of attraction. The law of attraction is one distinction of the one law, and the one law is how we manifest. And the truth is that you are the manifestation, and everything in your life is a vibrational match of your consciousness. So it's really understanding how you are creating your suffering or creating your joy or creating your division or creating that $1,000,000 or how you're creating, the dysfunction in your relationship or how you're creating an amazing, life. It's all from the one creative source within you and I. And we're creating through universal law for creating either heaven or hell on earth, division or divine divinity. So
Okay.
it's all about the creative process.
So interesting. Little sidebar leading into why I thought it was a very important time to have you on this show, other than what we're going to talk about, is gosh, about 2 years ago, I went through this whole phase of being an atheist. I was adamant that everything was science and there was no way you can change my mind. I even bought all the books about being an atheist and I put them next to my husband's bed because I thought we should learn this together. And then I went through this journey, and the journey was a lot of stuff that I did and some really dark moments in terms of we did some plant medicine that brought me to like the ends and back. And then one day I just said, I always thought that God was religion because I grew up in a Catholic household and there was no separation of the two. But I realized that it's not anything and it is everything. So when I had this disconnect from religion being God and vice versa, I realized, wow, there is that lens is almost like from the darkest limousine tint lens lifted up to complete clarity and realizing that we are one. We are one.
Mhm.
And as you say, we are not we are in this world, but we're not of this world.
Yeah. And I don't think you're too far off. And I like atheists sometimes more than really steep religious people because the truth is that there is no outside entity. There is no man in the sky. And the truth is that we are God. And that means that we're not, people go, oh my gosh, that's so awful to say that.
Yeah.
But the truth is that Renee is not the individual Renee. Renee is experiencing being in this fractal of the divine. But the truth is she's me, she's you, she's all of it. And so that is the God source. The God source is that which runs between all of us, that has created all of life, that is that infinite intelligence, wisdom, omnipotent power, all knowing source. And so you can say it's science, doesn't matter. You can call it the field, or you can call it God. It doesn't really matter. It's going to do what it does. It's like saying I don't believe in gravity. You're still going to feel the effects of gravity. So it doesn't really matter the title that you put
Oh,
on
I
it.
believe
It
in
really
gravity,
doesn't.
all right. I'll be
Yeah.
43 this year. It's showing its pull. So what got you into all this? I know you have a pretty sad story of something that happened, what, 30 years ago?
30 years ago, yeah. Well, one, I just want to say, I don't know what your audience, I'm assuming it's a lot of female entrepreneurs, I would imagine, right? So I just want to speak into that for a minute and recognize anybody out there that is watching this. I'm sure it's because one, you want to have more success, you want to be all powerful, you want to, fulfill your dreams. And I want you to know that it is possible, but I want you to know it's something beyond what you think your dreams are. So now answering Renee's question right now, that I too was somebody who really believed. I believed there was something great inside of me as a little girl. And as I grew up, the culture kind of beat me down in not believing that it was possible. Don't dream so hard. I was date raped in high school, was a low key kid growing up. My parents got divorced. We would go to the thrift store for our clothes. It wasn't like that bad. There's children that have it way worse than I had it by a long shot. It wasn't like that awful, but I was bulimic from 17 to 20. I thought it would all solve by the time I just would get married. I got married to somebody I didn't know at all because I had no self-worth and no self-value. And then I got pregnant and had a full-term stillborn at the age of 22. And so the day after giving birth to his body, I was in the mortician's house in this dark, cold room down in the basement. Looked like a scene out of a movie. But it was one of those moments where what's a blessing and what's a curse, right? And I realized that my baby was gone, but his body was here. And I realized we're not these bodies and we are spiritual divine beings. And so that sent me on a very big track of seeking. And today I can say that if you're somebody out there and you're seeking your goals and your dreams, you really need to realize how much has been programming and how much isn't. Are you seeking success because the culture has told you that having status, followers, millions of dollars is going to fulfill you? And I'm here to say it's beautiful to have dreams, but those dreams are never going to truly fulfill you. That we're really running a racket here and in a massive rat race right now. And I'm watching people get burned out and burned out and burned out. And you, the female entrepreneur, is actually the one we're waiting for, because collectively we're going to be doing the deep, deep spiritual awakening on this planet and bringing the real truth. So if you're here today, I believe this is a divine appointment for you listening in or watching in, and that this is a divine appointment for you to put a line in the sand, still go for success, but make some massive pivots of going much deeper in seeking what you're really ultimately seeking, which is true success, which is really to know thyself and bring wisdom and truth and connection and true prosperity to the world.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here for. So thank you so much for that question.
How does that process begin?
It begins usually with surrendering because you're in so much suffering in general. Usually by, some real massive dysfunction in your relationship, by, having such bad mental disorder that your anxiety gets so bad, or that you can't figure out how to pay your bills and you got to surrender, or you make so much money that you are even more miserable to where you have to surrender in to say, what is wrong with me? I can't do this anymore. Usually it's a midlife crisis. It can end in so many
So
different
like a
ways.
soft bottom or a rock bottom
Yeah, one
type
or
of
the other.
moment? Could it
Mhm,
just be like an aha
mhm.
moment? You just wake up and it's like, I'm done with this.
I think there's as many human beings as there's different, ways it occurs. So I could never say it's one thing. But what I have found, the more you suffer, the more likely you're going to become a leader.
Oh,
Because the bigger the surrender, the more likely you're actually going to do the deeper work.
and you have to want to do that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I find that people that haven't suffered as much have quote, quote, success from the cultural standpoint. But the real biggest leaders we found are ones like even say an Eckhart Tolle, who's not necessarily what the women might be striving to be, but Eckhart Tolle was suicidal. He had suicidal thoughts. We find this with almost every great leader. And so if you're having suicidal thoughts, please seek help. And it might be a biochemical thing. But to not want to live is something probably we've all questioned. What are we doing here? And what's the meaning of life? And why am I trying to go for becoming an influencer online or have a successful business when the truth is that there's something deeper that's actually desiring to come through me?
Mm,
So it's just a rat race. I mean, manifestation without spiritual awakening is a complete dead end. You keep going through this maze and you get things and you reach goals, but you're still not fulfilled.
right.
Spiritual manifesting with spiritual awakening is a process of really understanding what you're really here to manifest, which is the highest version of yourself, which is really here to bring, your soul's mission and calling here, which is always the same thing, which is ending suffering and bringing truth to the planet.
Mm.
So we just really, as collective, as the leaders of the movement, we're the ones who are going to have to start waking up and stop lying to our followers to say, hey, look at me. I'm so cool. I've got a filter on Instagram and my life is so cool. When actually we're all suffering deeply because I know everybody behind the scenes and they're all suffering. And then they go on Instagram and then they look like their life
My
is
life
all
is
like perfect. And it's
perfect.
just, yeah, yeah,
And that's what
pretty much.
we want to portray. Does that do ourselves an even like a bigger disservice in creating this facade of perfectionism?
Sure. So the universe is just neutral. So it doesn't matter what we do or what we don't do. Is it going to be like a karmic, thing? The truth is that the universe doesn't know the difference between $1 or $1 billion. The universe doesn't know if you did something good or bad. The universe doesn't even look at someone murdering someone as bad. It's like there's animals in nature that kill each other all the time. There's no good or bad. There's just cause and effect and survival and all kinds of things, dynamics that are playing into it. The truth is just really has to do with us suffering versus not suffering. And there's only one source of suffering. And the source of suffering is wanting people, places, and things, including ourselves, to be different than it is.
Mm.
So suffering is placing the power outside of thyself and wanting people, circumstances, life, and ourself to be different than we are. So we think if I just make more money, then I'll be happy. If I become a bigger influencer, then I'll be happy. If I can make a successful coaching business, then I'll be happy. And that is the lie because desiring something means that you don't have it.
Yeah.
Desiring means you don't have it. And if you're in right mind, you recognize you already are that.
Do you think we're always going to desire something?
Well, if we are not in right mind. So that's the point of having a spiritual practice and diving deep into the deep, deep soul work and merging in through your meditation and your prayer every single day. Because if you get so steeped in that, then you will be, you'll be in this world, but you won't be of this world.
Mm.
So you can stay in that through, deep, deep practice and then having your life be a prayer. But it's, we're human. So yeah, if you want to be in the business world and you want to spend your time in the physical world, you're going to have suffering. It's part of it. So the trick of that is knowing that, part of life is suffering and being okay with always going to the dark and having to transmute it all the time. It's a constant transmuting of that dark energy, finding the guru within and transmuting that through processes all the time, which is fine. It's just that most people can't accept that. They're constantly resisting, which makes it persist even more. So they're constantly like, I want more money. Therefore, I'm going to suffer because I don't have enough money. Therefore, oh my gosh, let me try and, it's called the rat
Yeah.
race. That's the rat
And this is
race.
so connected to limiting beliefs too.
Well, that is all limited. So all the limited belief, the true work or divinity is coming to the identity. So when we have an identity of I'm separate, right? Then your identity creates your beliefs. Your beliefs create your thoughts create your feelings create your emotions create the circumstances of your life. So doing the deep, deep merging work has the identity of the divine, the oneness, which is going to create positive, righteous, if you will, constructive beliefs, thinking, feeling, emotions, and circumstances of your life. So we know that the true deep work is doing trauma work to release those false identities that are at a subconscious level that are tagging the epigenetics. So that's, the work, the inner work. But so people can think, oh, I'm just going to not, have those limited beliefs in their evaluation mind. It's
Yeah.
never going to work. Like they're going to pretend like they don't have all those negative thoughts. It's really fake, you know.
So we essentially we we serve our suffering. We
Yeah, that's great. That you're either devoting to suffering or you're devoting to the divine within, one or the other.
what
It's a great way to
how
put
do
it.
people just like what's the process to start? For instance, maybe we can use me as an example. In
Sure.
I'm starting to do this work around identity. And my story is that I had back in 2012, I launched an agency, a PR agency, my first one, and we grew really fast. But in the same year as launching that business, I had both my babies. So my boys are 11 months apart.
Oh, yeah.
My husband was raising
Mhm.
around for a startup. He just finished
Um,
having one acquired. So now he's like the successful tech guy and he's flying all over the world. And I'm at home raising babies, running a business. And it was exhausting. However, I needed to withhold this identity of being this powerful woman, of running a business and having babies and living in a town that didn't know anybody. And my husband always being gone. He'd
yeah.
be like, oh, wow, Renee, I admire you. You're such a
Uh-huh.
powerhouse. And I felt
Yeah.
seen and heard,
Mm,
but it was a lie that I was telling myself. So I was upholding this identity that was
yeah.
physically killing me and
Yeah.
emotionally a wreck.
Sure. So one, I just want to acknowledge you. And it's not your fault, meaning that you have come into a culture that is really messed up. Okay. So one, we have to recognize why we've been in this rat race. The rat race began about 1950s in the United States. And what happened was the World War II, the military were going mentally ill and the government was afraid of what was happening. So they hired Bernays and Freud. Okay. And they actually wanted to have mind control because they were concerned about the actual possibility of the animalistic aspect of human beings. And so they created the white picket fence. They created that you should have all these material belongings. They realized that they can control people by wanting people to desire things and to be on the treadmill of getting those things.
Mm.
So, on the treadmill of trying to become this all powerful woman, you have sold your soul. And you have sold what you're really here to do, which is the true success, which is just to harness your divine power and to live in such luxury, such beautiful grace, one with nature, one with the cosmos, one with all lineage, past, future, one with the angels and the masters, to really be a sovereign woman that holds the power. But all the programming out here is going to bamboozle you and tell you that if you just look younger, have better clothes, have a more expensive purse, and have more followers, that you'll be successful. And those exact things are what are holding you back from your success.
Ooh. So, do you believe we all have a purpose?
Your purpose is to basically evolve the evolution of the species, right? And in that, of course, joy and the highest vibration in that. So the purpose for you specifically, you've been born into the specific DNA soul. And so your purpose is to clear your soul. The soul's purpose is to clear the
Okay.
soul, which is to neutralize all limited beliefs and all energetics that are holding you in the way from your full divinity in this life. That's your only purpose is to have full liberation and full
I feel
joy.
like we're living in a generation that's going backwards on this.
We're going backwards. We're
We
going
are.
backwards.
So, how do
Mhm.
we stop that and start going forward?
Sure. There's 4
Okay.
steps. They're in my book. No, I mean, there's okay, but really and truly, the first is
Mm.
to decide, "I've had enough, like, whatever I'm doing is not working. I need to decide and wake up to really see how my consciousness is creating my suffering, how this is completely insane, the way that we're living." That's the first step, okay? To really understand how consciousness, how did we get programmed this way? What really happened, okay? The second step is to reprogram, which is doing the deep, deep trauma work and really doing that releasing of the deprogramming, okay? And that's done through E4 trauma method I developed and many other ways you can deprogram and release the trauma, okay? The third is aligning. meaning that you do have a specific kind of soul's calling here. You have a specific truth, what's true for you with success, what's true for you in relationship, what's true for you where you want to live, the aligning of that relative truth. And the third is affirming every single day through a spiritual practice and through your service to the world. And those are really the four, break it down. And how we do that is by many things. The spiritual practice, we do all kinds of breath work and prana work and aligning the aura and the arc field and being able to communicate with the universe, being able to turn on those faculties that are birth or divine birthright, being able to tap into the zero field and go into that quantum level, that 0 point, that God point, that divine point, and being able to be used in a channel for the evolution of the species. So it's it's very advanced, but we can also break it down very simply. But the first step for everyone is to stop the insanity, to say, hey, this is no longer working and I'm not going to contribute to the world in the way it's been. This is total BS. It is killing us literally.
So what happens to us and then to our children and our great grandchildren and so on if we don't do this work?
Well, that's a great question. We're headed in a really bad direction. And we're headed, our food, I think is the first time our food is actually killing us. We have put toxins in everything. We're dividing ourselves. We're doing everything. So look, the truth is we're not our bodies. We're not this lifetime. So our children are us. And what happens to us, we just suffer more, We're, so what happened? We're eternal immortal beings. So it's not like, we're just here to have an experience in the relative
That's
form.
true. So essentially, by not doing this work, we're just perpetuating that suffering.
That experience, yeah. It's not like anything happens to I mean, life only lives. There's no such thing as death. There's only creation. And so it's just whatever you wanna create, Do you wanna create the experience of suffering in this human realm, or do you wanna experience more of being one with the universe and experience your divinity and your divine power? And it's just, there's nothing right or wrong about any of it. It's just
Do you
relative.
think that this is really tapped deep into the feminine, this work?
Well, it's masculine and feminine. It's the thing is the roles that the world tells us of what a man or woman is not correct. Men and women we're both one spirit. So I'm not a man or a woman and all that stuff. I'm not talking about the binary cultural conversations around that. I'm saying that within each and every one of us, there's a divine and masculine. The masculine part of ourselves is that which decides. The feminine aspect of us is the womb part of us that creates through universal law and the subconscious and superconsciousness. So we're all here to harness and balance out the masculine and feminine aspect of us, regardless of whatever the form of our genitalia
Okay.
is.
So these 4 steps, so to speak, that you talked about is your E4 method of quantum healing and quantum manifestation, of which you earned a Weldon Wisdom Award that was represented alongside Oprah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Mhm. Thank you. Thanks. It's really cool because I did so many different processes. One of my geniuses taking truth and putting it into processes for people, but we never know which, I didn't even know that it was going to be E4
Yeah.
method that was the best out of it. It wasn't until I worked with many clients and it was the one thing that got the radical results for people. And now we've changed, it's really amazing because now that one process can work on the past, the present, and the future. So you can use it and transmute your emotions. You can use it to transmute trauma, and you can use it also to transmute into your future embodied self, knowing that there's only here and now, but the mental pictures, using it for all those things. So
I
breaking it
never
down.
knew that I
Mhm.
needed to do this work. I always thought that being happy and being a successful entrepreneur, a mother, living a fulfilled life was really about chasing that success in terms of financial success. And
Yeah.
I see the people that are happy, maybe back in the day we would call those people woo. Who are those people? Right? Meditating, doing yoga,
Yeah.
breath work. It's too woo. Do you believe that most people
Mhm.
are too afraid to do that work because they know they might be facing some really hard things?
Mm. I don't know. I mean, people do all different things. Some people really have duped themselves and are trying to believe that they are
That's
happy,
probably the worst
so
place to be.
that's the worst place to be. I'd much
Purgatory.
rather see somebody that's really suffering. Yeah, purgatory,
Wow,
totally.
that is exhausting. So when I was doing this spiritual journey with my husband, and we did some medicine. It was very intense, and I'm not really one for this. However, I was in a position once where I felt like death. Like I felt like I died, realizing it wasn't actual me dying, but it was the death of my ego. But I was also caught between death and living. So I was in this place for probably
Mhm,
about 10 minutes, but also felt like an eternity because our guide was holding my hand and I could feel her and I could hear her, but also thought that I should be dying. And I wanted to die, I wanted my ego death, but then I felt stuck in this place, kind of like oil and water, like where they meet. And I thought,
mhm,
that is the worst feeling I've ever felt in my life. And it's almost like the sign that I
mhm.
needed to make a decision. You know the joke, like crap or get off the pot? It's the same thing. And so after
Mhm,
took a while, took a few months, but after that experience, I realized that we definitely stop ourselves from making the decision to live a more fulfilling, aligned life in favor of
mhm.
making people still believe you are a certain person that you're not. And with
Yeah,
entrepreneurs,
totally.
especially the women that I work with, and especially those that are mothers, I see that even more, and it's killing
Mhm.
them.
I know. It's a you can't, the thing is we have to know the perfection for every single person. So we always say in spirituality that the reality is everything is spiritual. Everything is born of spirit. So there's no better or worse. I remember when I first got into spirituality, I thought I knew
Yeah.
so much. I'd like preach to everybody and tell them everything they were doing wrong and oh my gosh, and all these distinctions. And we hate those people, right? And then I remember one day realizing that even the heroin addict that's homeless on the street is just as spiritual as you and I. We are all spiritual beings. There's no better or worse. We're just having a human experience. And so, what is better or worse? Is it better to be a successful entrepreneur, have money in the bank, be making millions, and like, or is it better to be going through some really hard things? They're going to demand you to do your deeper work and have revelation, and so it really is relative. And I know for me personally, I've always been one of those people that I feel like I don't belong, that something's wrong with me, that I've suffered so greatly in this life because I just want to go home to source. It's like
Yeah.
ET, like I want to go home, and I believe that we all kind of have that place within us, just how much we're able to get in touch with that. And the people that suffer the most are usually the ones that they end up either transitioning because they end up becoming addicts, or they end up really doing their deep work and becoming the leaders even more so. So it just is depending on how much you're able to not lie to yourself. We lie to ourselves more than we lie to anybody else. And we know now that authentic authenticity is a higher vibration
Oh,
than
wow.
love even. Yeah, so authenticity is really the thing, and people can lie to themselves, they can lie to their partner, but the truth is they can't lie to the divinity within them, that there's something that they know. We know. Everyone knows. And so it's just a matter of really having that kind of deep conversation with yourself. Like, am I okay with suffering enough for these things out here and selling my soul for these things? Or am I really going to come to my authenticity and come to know myself? Know thyself is the highest work we can do in this lifetime. And like truth, sometimes it's hard to say the truth, but then it gets easier and easier. When we tell a lie, it's easy, but then it gets harder and harder. So it's just really up to each individual to get real with
You
themselves.
got me thinking that if everybody did do this work and they were super authentic about the work that they wanted to do, I would be worried that there'd be no employees and that there would be fewer entrepreneurs.
That's why there's mind control on the planet.
Tell us about that.
Well, because what would it be like if really a lot of people actually began to fully wake up and have their divine powers? We call it cities on the East. There's, you know, 22 plus city superpowers that you turn on. And you'll watch it with the people who do their deep, deep work. They become more and more powerful. And so people on this planet know that. The powers that be know that. So they don't want you to awaken your innate nature because it would be like wars going on the planet, you know. And so there's people that their commitment is to become the wealthiest people on the planet. There's evil, you know, if you will, there's not a separate power, but there's
Yeah.
misuse of the power. And they want to be the most rich and the most powerful. And so they want to take away other people's
So they
power.
need to do the most healing.
Well, yeah, they're the ones that are doing mind control.
It's like a
They're
video
doing
game.
massive mind control. It's a video game. It's just
That's
game.
crazy.
It's
And
game.
we could probably think of who these people are: corporations, businesses. They control the food. You talk about how this is the first
Mhm.
generation where what we consume is really killing us. There's control there.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, there's a genocide for sure. There's genocides
Yeah.
going on the planet for sure.
Wars.
For sure. I mean, but well, we're in all dynamic. People want just positive, just negative. There's every possible thing going on in this universe you can imagine. There's miracles, there's evil things, there's everything, because that's life. Life is all dynamics. To love life is to love all of life, the good, the bad, the dark, the light, all of it. And we have to learn how to be okay with all that. And the only way to really be okay with that is to realize that we're not that. We're this internal creative source that is possible of creating all of that, but we can never be the effect of all that if when we
Do
come
you
back
think
into our
that
divine
helps you
nature.
mourn better?
I mean, some people call it spiritually bypassing because sometimes when you do this work, it's hard to really relate at some level to some things on this planet. But you know, when you realize you're not your body, you know, you
No.
no longer look at death the same. And in the Western world, we don't even look at death. We don't even look at old people. We don't even talk about transitioning
My
because
friend
we're
Dan
so
Go
afraid of it.
said he's probably my age, 42. He's got beautiful content. He shared things that he wanted to start working on as he aged was his nutrition, his sleep, the stuff that you would expect. And one thing that he mentioned that just hit home, he realized that as he gets older, more people around him are going to die. And he wants to become better at mourning, which is not something that we think about because it's
Mm.
just like, it's not like our society just doesn't accept that. Like death and
Well, and I think it's also a very self-centered world we live in. So the concept of saying, I want to get better at mourning instead of saying, I want to help other people
oh,
as they
what's
transition.
that?
You know, we're just such a self-centered culture. We're always thinking about how it's impacting me and how it's impacting, you know, how I'm going to get better at this, how I'm going to get more out of this, how I can manifest more, how I can get more status, how I can get more. We're really
I
sick,
never even looked at it
super
that way.
sick.
That's crazy. So, we talk about suffering. So, listeners are female entrepreneurs, and
Uh-huh.
I don't
Yes.
know the psyche of my listeners, but I do know that they come to the show to be inspired and motivated, to have these types of conversations in the hopes that this is gonna help them just live a more fulfilling life. How
Yeah.
based on everything that we just spoke about,
Sure. I know exactly what to answer right
well,
now.
then
I'm
just answer
feeling
it
it
then.
just came through, so I'll just answer. Yeah. So someone might be watching this going, "Oh, this sucks. Now, like, why should I even do these goals?" And what, right? Okay. So like, oh my God, this is awful. This like shakes up everything. Why am I even doing any of this entrepreneurship? And I'm going to tell you why and how this can help you in your entrepreneurship. Okay. Because there's two reasons why entrepreneurs are not successful. Number one is because they're limited beliefs that are holding them back. Okay. Or Someone might quote, quote, have a lot of success, but they end up getting burned out because they're inauthentic. So, what this work will do when you dive into your deep work is it's going to demand you to be authentic. And when you find your authentic swing in entrepreneurship, you will become unstoppable. So the goal, don't give up. Like, okay, but what it's going to do is going to have you not need validation from the likes and followers. It's going to make you not care if you're keeping up with the other funnel and the way people are doing it online. What it's going to end up doing is going to have you birth something that's never been birthed before as an entrepreneur. And it may be slower to start, but it's going to be more sustainable and you're going to leave a legacy. So this work seems hard and it's tough. And it's like, oh my gosh, she's right. She's speaking truth. This is like, wow, why am I even doing this? Because you're going to have to die as the person that you know, and you're going to be reborn as the person that is here for the highest good. And you're going to birth something that's never been birthed before. That they're dying for that authentic swing. They're dying for somebody who's not just doing it the same way as everyone else. They're dying for you to become your most authentic
Everybody is that.
self.
They want
Yeah.
that is motivating.
Yeah.
And so the path and
Yeah,
journey
for
to get
sure.
there isn't just like a cold turkey quit on everything. Right.
No, it's deep work. It's surrender and doing the work. So whether you come in to say work with somebody like me or whether you have an own, I always say whatever's called is what's right for you. So if there's whatever is called when you're saying, hey, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do this, find somebody that you can work with, because just like I have coaches, I have mentors, I have gurus. I work with gurus across the world. I get trained by people all around the world because each one teaches me something. Each one helps me, advance in my breath work. Each one helps me advance in whatever it is so I can teach it also, right? So whatever it is, make sure you are linking up with people who are, gone through things and can help you do it 10 times as fast, and just trust the process and know that you're going to have to surrender. You're going to have to like let go and surrender to doing it not the way you thought you should do it. Come in with Renee, do whatever. There's things that she can teach you in the skill set and mindset, right? So we want to master both and we want to transcend it, but it's a constant mastering, a constant surrendering to going deeper and deeper. And you can still do your entrepreneurship, but keep committed to doing the deeper work. And you can do both at the same time. You don't have to quit your entrepreneurship. You just have to know that you got to do that deep work and stay connected, because otherwise you sell your soul, you get burnt out,
No more selling
all
souls,
those
ladies,
things.
okay? No, they are
No more
priceless.
selling souls, ladies.
They are not worth your $9.99
Yeah,
program that you sell online. Wow, okay, so bringing tears
that's
to
for
my eyes
sure.
because I feel like there's a lot that I need to reflect on at this journey. One of the things that I realized was, and I actually shared this on my last episode, was the moments in my children's tiny years, baby years and toddler years that I missed by chasing after
Yeah,
that dream and by trying to maintain that identity of being a powerful woman and powerful couple.
same. My son is now 29 and has a baby on the way. And, uh, you know, I missed many years just by
As
not
it
being
sh-
fully present.
Wha
That's
and
devastating.
to think that I thought that was the easier way to parent. Like both my babies were 5 weeks old when they were gone to daycare full time, and I went back to work. I remember after my second was born, because it was such an easy delivery, I was on my laptop working right away. And for what? Because I guarantee you on my deathbed, people are gonna be like, "She was the woman who was on her laptop closing deals when her baby was stillborn." And I just felt this
Yeah.
need to be that person because that's what I thought was expected of me. But really, the divine will say what's expected of me is to be with my son because nothing else matters. To nurture him, to feed him, to hug him.
Yeah.
And I don't have those days. I can't get those days back. They're memories now.
No,
Memories on videos on my iPhone because I don't recall actually being there.
totally agree. I know.
Yeah.
That's the pain and the suffering, that we go, "Shoot, I did that, and I have to live with that." And it's not like I live with other than just not having the experience that I wanted
Yeah,
to truly
and it's
actually
such a short
experience.
moment of our life to have too. Okay, so tell us
Yeah,
about your
totally.
book, and then you have an incredible card deck that I have. I love this, beautiful. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the card deck's fun. My book's Awakening, a 40 guide for just diving deep into really doing the work, and then the oracle cards are universal laws. So there's one universal law, which is a law of, you could say, oneness, cause and effect. It's a nameless, but there's 52 distinctions in there, and you can actually get a free 52 audio lessons on universal law and worksheets and stuff with that. There's a free gift there as well, and you can come into the programs doing all the deep work, do work with soul-based entrepreneurs as well, but primarily
Mhm.
we certify them in E4 method and certify them as spiritual psychology coaches and things. So just really advanced work, and it's beautiful. So blessed to do the work like you as well. Loved
Yeah,
I love this the woman, the female entrepreneur. Like there's nothing I love more the soul-based female entrepreneurs. It's just an amazing group of women across the globe, and really honored to be at this time in history for sure. And I know for sure that that's us that are doing the work here.
you.
So I honor you, Renee, and I know that you've been seeking, and I know it's gonna be so deep for you, and I know that you are gonna make a huge impact on this planet as you already have, and that your longing for ending your own suffering is going to be that blessing that's gonna bless so many through your work.
I
So really
love
honored to
it,
have this
and I my
conversation
my
with you.
card before that I pulled before this conversation was all about destiny. Yeah, destiny is
Yeah,
such an interesting word.
yeah. Your
It is.
deepest desire is your divine destiny. The problem is most people don't know what their deepest desire is. They haven't listened enough to actually listen to what their deepest
100%,
desire
that's
is.
my problem. But it's there,
Yeah,
right? It's just kind of, like, buried underneath crap from society. Oh, okay,
yeah,
so if people wanna go
yeah,
online to
totally.
find you, where can they go?
They can go to my website, which is drerin.tv, which is DRERIN.tv. You can find my podcast at drerinshow.com. And then across social media, it's either Dr. Erin or my full name is
Sweet.
Erin Fall
And
Haskell.
one last question for you,
So,
question I
yeah.
ask all
Mhm.
my guests. When I ask you what it means to be a
Okay,
wild
cool.
woman, what is that to you?
That's a great question. What does it mean to be a wild woman? I guess for me, it means wild means something that's never been done before. So in our lineage, we call it a new thought, which is an ancient wisdom. But at every divine moment, we have the possibility of creating something that's never been created on this in this universe. And that is our wild nature of the divine within us. So I'm honored to be that, to be something that's never been created, a unique divine
I
expression
love it. Well,
of
thanks
the
for
one.
joining us today.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Such a beautiful conversation.